Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Buy Low episode here for week 13 on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm your host, Dan Bespris, and you can find me on Twitter at Dan Bespris, DanBesbris. I am also available over on Blue Sky at Old Man Squad and on Instagram at Old Man Squad Fantasy. We are very pleased to announce that in the coming day or two, we will bring you a brand new partner, and that is our buddies over at Underdog. I'll be able to bring you more information on that here in, again, the next show or two. I just got to get all of the campaign information digested. I will say this, that our promo code is Old Man. That's my favorite promo code of all time. So if you sign up there, use the promo code Old Man. I'll tell you more about it again in the coming shows. But it's a really cool partnership that we're very, very proud to be a part of. We've got a referral link. We've got the code. We've got promo stuff. But I want to sort of walk you through how to use Underdog. And so we'll talk more about that here in the next little bit. Again, Buy Low Week 13. That's what's going on today. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our show. And also, did I screw something up? Yeah, I lost my mouse. My mouse disappeared. Oh, dear me. And if you have an opportunity to drop a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, that would also be extraordinarily helpful. I thought I deleted this slide. We have no need to read it. Let's actually just keep moving along. This is a look back at there's my mouse again. This is a look back at what we had on our Buy Low board from last week, a show that I recorded basically right as the wildfires were destroying most of the things that we hold dear. James Harden was one of the names on that list. He was not great the first couple of games. Afterwards, he was very, very good in his last ball game. So I would say kind of neutral is the outlook on that one so far. Jalen Williams has not yet bounced back. Just a matter of time. He's number 54 over the last week. Pretty good week, 25-5 with 1.3 steals, a block, up to 46% shooting on that jump there. So not bad, but not quite all the way where we wanted him to go. Rudy Gobert has been kind of an interesting test case and he's actually still on the Buy Low board. So over the last week, he's number 111, 11 points, 9 boards. Right after we put that show out, he had like a 6-block game that's no longer being counted in the last week assessment of Gobert. Also, not surprisingly, his free throw shooting has taken a hit. That was the week before this most recent one also. So he's kind of fluctuating between getting closer and not. I would definitely still buy low on Gobert. I don't think you're going to be able to buy low on Harden after the big ball game. Jalen Williams, maybe. And then Brook Lopez was the other name that we threw up on the board last week as the actual buy low. He's been fine, number 90 the last week, 41% shooting, but the blocks are back up to 2 a ball game, and that's kind of the thing you were looking for if you went to get Brook Lopez. The last name we talked about last week was Jimmy Butler, if you're a maniac. He was the risky, throw caution to the wind. Does this guy ever come back to play for the Heat? I don't know. His agent has come out and said, yes, he's ready to play when his suspension is up. I just don't know how the team plays him 34, 35 minutes a game if they're trying to move him. That strategy wouldn't make any sense to me. But we'll see. I'm open to being wrong there. Still, regardless, I think he's a buy low, and I think it's also very, very risky. So I'm still there. And frankly, as far as all the guys go from last week, the only one that's probably not as buy lowable is Harden because his last ball game was very good. But the other guys, I think you could probably still get them at a slight discount, even if a couple of them had slightly better games this last week. Not enough to really move the needle and get people excited about those dudes. All right, so we don't have our new ad yet, but we do still have our buddies from BetOnline. And BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. They've got the largest selection of odds on everything from football to the NBA, college basketball, NHL, and UFC. And you can watch the bets in real time, making BetOnline the number one sports betting source for this new year. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, from touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion, covering you on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Let's take a look at what we've got for this week. And I did think that it was worth spending a minute or two on what we talked about last week because most of these names are still there. And typically that's the way it works with buy lows. You put them out there and the players may or may not be good immediately after you issue the buy low. But a lot of times it takes a little bit of time for them to come back to where you want them to be. And that's where we are with most of those guys from last week. This week, and this one might get blown up as we're recording the show. I'm recording this in the middle of like the first quarter of Cavs Pacers, and Donovan Mitchell has like 18 points in the first 6 minutes. So I don't want to say hopefully he slows down because I have Donovan Mitchell in a few spots, and I'd be cool if he continues to have a very nice performance in this ball game. But also slow down just a little bit because we've got a baby-sized buy low window on Donovan Mitchell, who's number 150 over the last 2 weeks. He's a top 20 fantasy player. This year he's number 30, but a lot of that's because he's playing only 31 minutes a game because the Cavs are just like, none of their games are competitive these days. Everything is fine for him. Steals are maybe a hair low. Field goal percent is pretty much where you'd imagine. I think the free throw number could still get a little bit better overall, but mostly we're working on a patch for Mitchell where he's shooting under 40% over the last 2 weeks. And because nothing else has been hyper elite and the team was still mostly winning those games up until the last one, there hasn't really been this clamor of like, oh, Donovan Mitchell, he's got to pick up the pace. It's just been quietly like, as long as the W's are piling up, who really cares how they get there? And that's the way it should be. If your team is winning, it doesn't matter if your star player isn't doing all that much if everybody else is doing a bunch. But at some point here, the Cavs are going to get challenged. And when they do, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are going to be the guys to step up. Do I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be a first rounder this year? I do not. I think that ship has largely sailed. But do I think Donovan Mitchell could still be a mid-second rounder? I still do. I don't think that ship has fully sailed. I think that ship is still in harbor. It's a stupid metaphor. But you guys get it. All that to say, if you can get Donovan Mitchell for someone ranked close to Donovan Mitchell right now, to me, that's a no-brainer. And the guys who are ranked around him on the board are fellow slight buy low Jalen Williams. I would rather have Donovan Mitchell between those two guys. Dyson Daniels likely won't be enough. Josh Hart probably wouldn't be enough either. Trey Murphy also would not be enough. Those guys are guys you'd have to package with someone else. De'Aaron Fox is someone I would think about sending out for Donovan Mitchell. Fox is playing 37 minutes a game, and everything is kind of good enough for him, up even a little bit in some spots. I would have Donovan Mitchell over him. I would have him over Tyler Hero, Derek White. LeBron is questionable. I think I'd probably rather have, give me Donovan Mitchell there too. Jared Allen, Kristaps Porzingis, Cam Johnson, those guys probably won't be enough. Trae Young, Cade Cunningham, straight 9-cat, you want Donovan Mitchell against those guys. Punt builds, those dudes move back in front. So like punt turnovers, basically, or 8-cat, you'd rather have Cade, you'd rather have Trae, but and then with Trae, you could also be punting field goal is another way to get him over the Donovan Mitchell hump. So again, your team build better than I do. James Harden, same kind of thing. Basically the same as Trae. Are you punting field goal? Or are you punting turnovers? If not, you'd want to have Donovan Mitchell. And the list goes on and on and on and on of guys that might actually get the job done on this trade. Guys that I would not give up for Donovan Mitchell would be basically like Kevin Durant and above on the rank board. I would rather have KD. I'd rather have Halliburton. I would give up JJJ for Donovan Mitchell. Probably wouldn't give up Kyrie. Jalen Johnson's a weird case. I would definitely give up Jalen Johnson for Donovan Mitchell because his shoulder scares me a little bit. Maxey, I'd rather have Donovan Mitchell. So the list actually goes pretty high up right now. That Spida, to me, is still your preferred option. Next name on our buy low board is OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby got off to an insane start this season. He has since settled back into a normal valuation. And so there's like a few things at play here. For one, on the season, OG is number 65. That number still doesn't look all that bad because 65 is not all that bad. 16 points, 4.7 boards, 2 assists, 1.4 steals, 0.9 blocks. However, Over the last couple of weeks, the numbers have taken a little bit of a nosedive for OG. He's number 188 over that span, and it's been a whole bunch of stuff happening across the board. 14.5 points, 1.5 threes, only 3 rebounds. Yeesh. 1 steal, 0.6 blocks. 49% shooting is still decent. 70.5 free throws, not all that great. He's lost what made him a valuable player over that span, despite playing 37 minutes a game. So here are the two things that are kind of butting heads on OG Anobi. On the one hand, this is a buy low moment for OG. By all accounts, he'll probably get to do a little bit more than he's been doing lately. The rebounding will be better. The assisting will be better. The stealsing will be better. The free throws will probably be a little bit better. There's a lot of stuff that we know will bounce back from where he's at over the last couple of weeks. At the same time, and this is something that we've been thinking about all year long, is the entire Knicks roster a ticking time bomb of playing too many minutes until they all go down in a heap of injured glory? And that's why I wouldn't overextend myself on this one. I think there's a window where you might be able to get OG that won't break the bank, but do not. Like with Donovan Mitchell, you could extend yourself a little bit above that window because we know how good he can be when the Cavs might finally someday need him this year. With OG, don't extend yourself too far because this is a guy who's probably going to finish somewhere between 65 and 85 or 65 and 100. And it's not super clear exactly where he finishes in that window. I thought he was going to be somewhere near 75 to 85 beginning of the year with injury risk. He's number 65 with injury risk right now, especially potent injury risk because he hasn't missed any time yet. I think if you can get OG for someone between 80 and 105, thereabouts, what did I put on the board here? 75 to 100? I'd rather go a little bit later than that, depending on the name. So, Peyton Pritchard at 73, obviously I would want OG Anunoby. Goga Bitadze at 71, I would want Anunoby as well. So, some of it comes down to name recognition. Those guys probably wouldn't be enough to get him. But, I don't think I would give up Jalen Suggs, who's number 72, for OG, who's 65, because they're the same fantasy player. Looking at some of the other names in that window, Mikal Bridges has been coming on a little bit. I don't think that's the right time to sell yet. I would give up Brandon Ingram for OG. I would give up Kobe White. I said that with too much conviction. I might give up Kobe White. I would give up Andrew Wiggins. I would give up Tobias Harris. I would give up DeAndre Hunter. I would give up CJ McCollum. Austin Reeves would be an interesting one that might get it done because he was running hot before the last one. Anthony Simons has been super hot lately. He'd be a fun one to give up for OG if you could pull that one off. If Herb Jones wasn't hurt, that might get it done. So again, that list stretches between 65 and 110, which is a wide berth. But again, it all has to do with expected valuation. The projections being the biggest part of this, and not as much exactly what the player's rank is right in this moment, but you can kind of match those pieces together. So maybe that wasn't entirely clear. Understanding the perception of a player is so critical here because you might get someone who's ranked lower but is perceived higher. You might get someone who is higher who is perceived lower. Most people are not operating exclusively off the current rank board. Some are, many are not. All right, let's move on. That was, we got Donovan Mitchell, we got OG Anunoby. Next name on the board is Mikal Bridges. You may have noticed I jumped over him when I was talking about players I would give up for Anunoby. I would give up Mikal Bridges for Anunoby, but Mikal is in a buy posture right now because he got off to a bad start this year. He was hovering around 105, 110, 115 range. Then he got real hot, real hot for a little bit. Not all that long, just a little bit. And now he's cooled off again, which is It's straightforward. Like, there's an ebb and flow to an NBA season. Sometimes you're in the ebb, sometimes you're in the flow. This is the case for almost every player not in the top 10. And we forget this because guys go on little cold spells and we're like, oh, this guy sucks right now. But it happens all the time. Some of the most severe examples of this are guys that we can point at, the Leonardo DiCaprio, like sitting forward in the chair, snap point meme, where it's very obvious. Jared Allen is a really obvious one. Every time he gets up, his rank gets up around 25 or 30, he hits a cold spell. Every time his rank falls into the 50s, he hits a hot spell. But what's actually happening there is he's getting hot and cold, and then the rank is sort of the lagging indicator, and it moves slower and slower as the season goes on. Jared Allen is back up to number 35 now. Remember, he was a second rounder at the beginning of the year. Then he fell into the 50s. Then he was up into the 30s, back into the 50s. He's back up into the 30s. He's due to cool off again. It might be happening as we speak. I haven't looked at the box score since that early up. Oh, Donovan Mitchell's up to 24 now. Oh, boy. Jared Allen's fine. He's got 4, 3, and 2, and they're in the second quarter right now. So he's doing fine. All that to say, basically everybody that's not a top 10 guy has ups and downs. And even the top 10 guys have a little ups and downs. They're just not quite so severe because their numbers are gigantic even on down days. But basically everybody else outside the top 10, maybe you could extend it to like 15 or 18. They have these swings. And Bridges is in a swing right now. So Mikal is back down to number 78 overall on the season. He's number 158 over the last 2 weeks, mostly because he just hasn't really done anything besides score a little bit over that span. Boring. 15 shots a game. He's at 17 points, 2 3-pointers, and mostly crap beyond that. 2.4 boards, 2.1 assists, 0.3 steals. He does have 0.8 blocks. I guess that's something. But shooting, not great. Not awful, but not great. And then low turnovers. Whoop-de-doo. This is like the last year Brooklyn Mikal Bridges, where he wasn't doing that much stuff besides just chucking away. But we've seen both sides of it already this year for the Knicks. So it stands to reason that we're going to probably see them again. And then we're probably going to see him cool off again. Not that long after that. So you'll have the Mikal cold spell, which was the first month and a half. Then you'll have the heater, which was about 3 weeks. And now you're back into another 2-week cold snap. So what does that put us at? First 6 weeks, he was cold. Then he was hot for 3 or 4. Now he's cold for 2 again. That's 12 weeks. Okay, so here we are, week 13. It adds up. It tracks. I think Bridges probably ends the year, honestly, not that far from where he's ranked right now. We saw the cold, we saw the hot. We're getting back into the cold, kind of early in the cold right now, depending on how long you think it goes. But he's at 18 points, not that many boards or assists. The assists are okay at 3, a steal, half a block, and 49% from the field, with what I hope is an improving 71% at the free throw line. Can we buy Mikal Bridges for his current rank or lower than that? That is the goal in all of this. He's right around number 80 right now. So you should be looking at guys, start your board around him, and then kind of glance in both directions. I think OG probably ends up with a better season. And I don't know how the health factor is going to work its way in, because Bridges never misses a ball game, and OG basically hasn't been this healthy in half a decade or more. I would give up less to get Bridges than I would to get Anunoby. So pretty much nobody ranked above OG I'm giving up for Mikal Bridges. The names in there, yeah, just looking around. Batadze at 71 is probably maybe Malik Monk at 70. That's probably the highest ranked player on the board right now that I would give up for Mikal Bridges. I don't think I want to sacrifice anybody above Monk and Goga right around 70. And then you get into a laundry list of names that I would sacrifice. So Peyton Pritchard, I would give up. The PJ Washington's a maybe. Probably I'd give up PJ for Bridges. Christian Brown, I would give him up. Derek Lively, he's been coming on pretty good. Probably not. I think I might want Lively there. Ingram, I would give up. Kobe White, I would probably give up, but that's a wash. So what the hell's the point there? Santi Aldama, I would give up. DeAndre Hunter, I would give up. Tobias Harris, I'm going to say no. I think he actually is going to be okay the rest of the way. Wiggins, I would give up. Again, it's the same thing. CJ McCollum, I would give up. Austin Reeves would be close. Probably. Drew Holiday, would that get it done? Probably not right now, but maybe. Bobby Portis, when he was hot, that would have been one to throw out there. Maybe this one's not quite as easy to do because we don't have as high a valuation of Mikal Bridges as we did of OG Anobi. But if there's someone out there that, is on a heater that you think you could talk somebody into in your league, maybe that's the way to go on the Mikal Bridges front. And here's your risky bonus name du jour. It's Bradley Beal. And look, with Jimmy Butler, the risk was sitting out a long time, getting traded, getting hurt. With Beal, he just got benched. And yet, he hasn't been that bad since going to the bench. It hasn't been all rainbows. It's been pretty markedly up and down since going to the bench. 25 and a 12 and a 15. The blocks, steals are fine. The usage is lower, as you'd expect, although it's kind of apples and oranges because you've got Booker and Durant in. If either one of those guys is out, then Beal probably moves back into the starting five. But the minutes have been pretty consistent. Even with the bench role, he's still playing 30 plus. So there might be a window here where he's been annoying because he hasn't been healthy all the year. He hasn't really been himself. I think he's ranked around 80th roughly on the season right now. And he's not going to get that much better than 80th. That's the problem. Other than, the free throw should come up from 76. But the other stuff kind of is what it is. Like maybe the field goal percent gets a little bit better. Maybe the assists are a little bit better. If he's the bench guy, if he's meaning he's the man off the bench. But I don't know that it changes all that much. It's basically the same since he came off the bench as a starter. So you're kind of banking here. And this is a risky one. You don't have to do it if you don't want. If if it makes you too nauseated to even think about a Bradley Beal thing, then skip it. But if you're feeling sort of riverboat gambly, he's an interesting one because the negativity around Beal being benched, and it honestly we're getting near that point where it almost happened too long ago. It happened right when we were going into these damn wildfires. And you guys know I was bouncing from home to home, just kept getting evacuated over here. So we didn't really have a chance to sit down and say, hey, what do we do about this Bradley Beal situation? The answer is if people in your league, whoever has Beal, if they're looking at it like, this dude is cooked, man. He's coming off the bench. Everything is a mess, trending down. Analysts are out there talking about how, the Suns are trying to make him miserable so he'll waive his no trade clause. The press has been very negative around Beal, although he himself has actually been quite professional in all of this. Does any of that impact the perception of Beal? Because he's number 80 right now, which is fine. It's not good, but it's not disastrous for your team. But is there the perception that he's been worse than that? That's the part I don't know for sure. But the guys we just talked about for Mikal Bridges, I'd probably rather go get Bradley Beal with those guys and just hope that some kind of upside kicks in. Because we know if Beal goes to a place where he's not the third fiddle, he could jump from 80 to 35 like that. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I mean, that's probably a 5-10% chance. But there's no way that happens with Mikal Bridges unless 3 other Knicks starters get hurt. The sound of screaming children always occurs about 25 minutes into the podcast. That's how much time I have before they get nuts. It's like clockwork around here. Well. Back to school they go at some point soon. So it's that same list, pretty much, that we just talked about with Mikal Bridges. And I think a lot of them would work. I think you could get Beal for CJ McCollum. I feel quite confident you could get him for Austin Reeves. Those would, I think other people would be champing at the bit on that one. PJ Washington, you're looking for players that are maxing out near where Beal is at, but like comfortably maxing out, where it doesn't look like anything crazy's happening. Because no one looks at PJ Washington right now and goes, oh, this is nuts. There's no way. Most people are going to be like, oh, yeah, I guess he's been around that good this year. And we were high on PJ. I remain high on PJ, but I don't think he's going any higher than this. And Beal can still. That's the thing. There's the possibility. There's the can they do it? Again, I'm not giving up somebody ranked above him other than, like we already talked about, like a Goga Batadze or a Peyton Pritchard or something like that. But if you're looking at guys right around Beal and then down the board, there's 5 to 15 guys that I would exchange for Beal, even though it's very risky. I get it. I know there's a risk. And with that one, doesn't bother me all that much. Here's a quick look at what we've done over the weeks on this one. I don't know. This may not matter to any of you guys. Week 1, we had Tyrese Halliburton, Jimmy Butler, Nick Claxton, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Cat, Suggs, Garland, Edey, and Tobias Harris. It was a really big list there. That was after just the first game of the year. And Halliburton, Cat, Suggs, Garland all turned out to be gigantic winners. Week 4, we did another one of these classic buy lows with Lauri Markkanen. Butler was on there again. Whoops. Freddie VanVleet, Josh Giddey, and Drew Holiday. Markkanen has been getting going, but now the Jazz have shut down everybody, so that's annoying. Holiday's come around. Took a while. If you had him from week 4, it took about another 6 weeks before he finally woke up. Josh Giddey woke up, and then he got hurt. Freddie VanVleet is still kind of piddling around in that 50 to 65 range, so not great, not bad. Hasn't really kicked in. And we know the story with Butler. Week 5, we did an update, put Halliburton back on there, and then he really kicked it into high gear. Joel Embiid that was your risky play back in week 5. Still very risky, but I mean, hell, again, if you got him for like a 60 range guy, I still think that was the right move. Trey Murphy was a great one to grab because he came back from injury and he wasn't very good right at the beginning. And now he's amazing. And then we had an injury buy on DeJounte Murray and Scotty Barnes, and can't grade those out. Week 7, LeBron, Bane, and Austin Reeves. Those are like the easiest ones ever. They've all won. They're all winners. And that is your buy low episode. So we put my face back up on the screen for week 13. Thanks for watching, everybody. Again, sort of, I get it, weird drop times for some of these episodes. We're just trying to get them out when we can right now. You guys have heard the stories about everything going on in LA. My older son had a picnic today where his entire school was learning their new school. It's actually kind of amazing that they pulled this off, but there's a lot going on in the Best Press universe right now. As I've been saying on all these shows, it's funny too, because I used to say this, or I still say this on most of my play-by-play broadcasts. At the very end, I say, friends, whatever you do it safely. It's always been part of my sign-off when I call a game, and I've never done it on podcasts because it always felt kind of dumb because I come back the next day. I don't know when people are listening to the show. It's not live. It was the thing I say on play-by-play shows because, I'm signing off air at like 10 p.m. Be safe. It's the end of the night. Get home safe. That kind of thing. These podcasts, I'm doing them at, 7:30, 8:30 in the morning a lot of the times. What am I telling people? Go have a safe day? Go have a safe day at your job? Never made sense. But now all of a sudden it does. So, everybody, whatever you do between now and the next time you listen to an Old Man Squad podcast, be safe out there. Follow me on Twitter at Dan Besbris, DanBesbris. Subscribe to the show. And please, dear Lord, pre-like our trade deadline show. That is February the 6th. We'll be starting first thing in the morning. As soon as everybody's the hell out of here and off to school for the day, provided we actually have school, because take anything for granted anymore. And it's going to be a frickin' wingding. It's my favorite show of the year. We go for 4+ hours straight, just right through. It's our biggest growth day of the year. I love everything about it. But the only way that it really works is if all of you guys bookmark that page so that the second we start the show, boom, everybody's in. So please pre-like that. Like this one. Subscribe. Rate and review. Talk to you when I talk to you. We got a recap show coming up next. That'll be dropping first thing earlier tomorrow, Wednesday morning. I'm Dan. I'm out.